Welcome to One-on-One, the podcast for tips, tricks, and techniques for the ON1 software community. And here's your host, Scott Kelby.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to One-on-One, where we're going to be talking about all kinds of ON1 software plugins and products and stuff. And that's what we're going to do today. We got a really interesting show. We've got some effects. We have Dylan Kotecki who's going to be here. He's going to be showing you some stuff. We got a great photographer to feature today that we're going to show some before and after shots that are really, really interesting, and it plays right into the stuff that we've been showing you here. So that's what's going on. Hey, by the way, we are live. We broadcast this originally live Tuesday, 3 o'clock on the East Coast. So that's where we are right now. And so if you're watching us live, and I hope you are, feel free to drop in any comments, any questions or anything you have, drop them in the chat, and we'll pick you up live. Let's go ahead and start with our first comment. Now, I'm in ON1 Photo Raw, but I'm going to mostly be using ON1 Effects. That's like my go-to. All right, so let's do that. So let's start with this image that you see. I kind of already did the standard processing, right? Like, you know, I fixed the contrast and the exposure, and it's just kind of a regular looking shot. So what I'm going to do for this tip is to do something more like what you see a lot about on Instagram, where you're applying a kind of a signature look to it. And so you would apply this look to all of your photos. I'm not saying that you should apply this look to all of your photos, but a lot of people they find a look and then they apply it to their stuff. And you see this a lot on Instagram, where all of someone's pictures will be pastel. They'll have a pastel feel to them, or they'll have a high contrast or a low contrast or a matte look, or so it's that kind of thing. So we're going to start off by applying a preset. Now, the presets are found over here on the left here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the cinema presets, right? So there's all these different presets, and the one I'm going to choose are the cinema set, right? Now, the one I'm going to choose is this one down here called CN12. Now, if you run your cursor and just pause it for a second over any of the presets, right, it's going to give you that's not a bad one, CN8. It's not what we're going to use for today, but I got to remember that one. If you like it, you can mark the little heart and then it becomes a favorite. But the one I really like is this CN12, because it gives kind of this look that you see a lot. Except for there's one thing, and you might be thinking, Scott, I've never used CN12. I'll tell you why. Because it has something in it that's not awesome. Let's apply it. And what it is when you click on the preset, it loads all the panels that were needed to create that. Here's where the problem lies. Glow. It looks good on a landscape, okay? It looks good. It kind of gives you a little tiny bit of an Orton effect, but it doesn't look good on most other things. So step one is to apply that CN12 to set up this look. Step two is go turn glow the heck off. I'm going to go right here and just turn it off so you don't see it. The glow goes away and we're back. Now, I don't need the presets panel open anymore. If I close it over here on the left, it just gives me a bigger image. I can see a bigger image that I'm working with. All right, so that's our start. Now, next, what we're going to do, I'm going to add a filter. I'm going to go under filters, and I'm going to click on tone enhancer. And I'll tell you what I want to do. What I want to do, and you'll see this a lot, is I want to add a gradient to the top that kind of goes down like a grayish gradient at the top. But I also want a grayish gradient at the bottom. So rather than doing a gradient for the top and a gradient for the bottom, what you can do is there is a reflected gradient, which does it for you automatically. It automatically does that top, it automatically does that bottom. You just kind of click it in the middle of your photo and you're good to go. How do you get to that? Well, first you're going to click right here on this little icon right next to the word tone enhancer. So I brought up a tone enhancer, but I haven't done anything with it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this icon right here, and that brings up my masking tools. Now, it wants to use the mask brush, but I'm going to have you move over to the next one right here. This one, the masking bug. Basically, it makes gradients. Now, it's going to make a standard gradient, in which case I would have to do 2, but I'm going to go right here where it says shape. You can choose different ones, and the one I'm going to hopefully convince you to use, is the reflected gradient. The default would be the regular gradient, but you're going to do the reflected gradient. And that way, all you have to do is click once somewhere in about middle of the photo. And once you've clicked it, I did click it, right? Then you can go over here to the exposure, and you can see what it does. Now I'm going to exaggerate it here. This is like you're looking out a window, all right? But you get the idea. Right now, what also is nice is once you've done it, you move your cursor over it, you can go in here and you can use these sliders to determine exactly how far into the photo you want it to come. I want it to be a little further out at the top and a little further out at the bottom, so you just drag the dotted line so it's a little more like that. I'm going to lower the exposure a little, but it is almost like kind of you're looking out a window just a little bit. Now, also, the edges they're not hard, but they're not super soft. So I'm going to go to feather right here, and I'm going to increase the softness of those edges, right? And so here I'll lower the exposure so you can see they're nice and soft here, and you can see the difference. See, it's how it softens them up. So I'm going to go all the way to 100 to soften them up, and then I don't need quite that much exposure. So something right about in there. All right. Now, I want to add and this is very popular, I want to add a long exposure effect to the water. There's a pretty easy way to do that. We're going to use the Super Select tool over here on your left, right here. It looks like it's like a magic wand, but it's Super Select. We're going to click on it, and you got to give it a second to analyze the photo. And then you just click on whatever part of the photo you want. In this case, I want the water, so I'm going to click on it. Now, to choose which filter that I want to apply, right, I want to apply like a motion blur to give it a long exposure look. I'm going to right-click, and up pops all the different filters you can choose. The one we're going to choose is right here, blur. Now, when it comes up, it's just going to blur the water, which looks just stupid. That's okay. It also brings up the blur options panel over here. And what we're going to do is switch it to motion blur. That brings up these sliders, and we're going to take the distance and go all the way over. So we get more of that long exposure look like that. Just drag it all the way to the right. Now, you could add another one like on top of it just to get those little edges a little more, but that gives you a pretty decent long exposure look. Now, let's look at a before and after as you can see what I'm talking about. So here was the originally edited photo, right? And then there is the look, right, that you see. It's kind of almost a bit desaturated, but there's still color there. It's not black and white, but it's not selective color because you got a reasonable amount of color in there. But you see stuff like this a lot right now on Instagram, so I thought I would show you how to do that. All right, so there we go. I want to give a couple of shout outs. I see some folks here. Grumpy Mike's is saying hi from Tampa. Sharon's here from Indy, and Allison and Jeremy, who are from the UK, are actually in Florida. So hi to Allison and Jeremy. And so Graham's here from a rainy and gloomy Malta. Tom's here. Hey, Tom. Tom says, hello all. Jay's here. What's up, Jay? From Minneapolis in the house. Holly's here from Sarasota. All right. Glad to have you all here. Thanks so much for joining. Okay. Standing by is Dylan. So let me get my headphones on. All right, Dylan, you there?
I'm here.
All right. Hey, yeah, hey, thanks for joining us today here, and we appreciate you coming on. And you are a known educator in the ON1 space, so we are honored to have you here today and to show us some cool stuff. And let's talk about your blurry background.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well.
So what is really back there?
I don't have an interesting background, so I might just blur it.
Hey, neither do I. I got wood slats. I got nothing. Anyway.
On the face.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dylan. Take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet, man.
This is my first podcast, so
nervous, come
excited.
On. Oh,
Swear.
Yeah, you should be terrified. Everyone that comes on should absolutely be just horrified because there's a lot of pressure, and by that I mean there's none.
Yeah, no.
So,
This is great. And I love the tip too. I love the using the preset and then using the reflected gradient. That was awesome.
The big tip is turning off that glow.
Yeah,
It's
it can
great
be,
for
glow
landscapes,
can be
but for
intense.
nothing else.
Yes, glow is a blessing and a curse at
It
the same
is.
time.
It can be
Sometimes,
awesome
yeah, it can
or
be awesome.
not.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, landscapes, springtime photography, but it can get quite intense. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, thanks so much for having me. And yeah, I just wanted to showcase a few of the new features in ON1 Effects.
Oh, so you're going to show the new stuff?
Some of the new stuff, yeah.
All
So there's
right.
new ON1 Effects 2025. So there's a few new features. There's new filters. There's depth masks. There's generative AI features. So really cool. I'm hoping you can see my screen. Okay.
Not yet, but I feel
Let me stop sharing and then
I feel
share again.
good it's going to happen.
Now probably.
No, we still see you.
Oh. I don't know.
Now, there we go.
There's
All
good
right.
now?
Yeah,
Good now?
yeah, we see it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So one of my favorite new features in the new ON1 Effects is depth masks. Essentially, it allows you to target the foreground and background subjects. So if you have, in this case, a car, which is in the foreground, and you want to illuminate it, you can just dive into a depth mask, apply a filter or a local adjustment to that specific region without affecting the background. Or you could even invert the mask, and then you could apply that effect or local adjustment to the background. But I really like to use these local adjustments here. So I'll just add an adjustment. And let's say we want to illuminate the foreground. I'm just going to pull up on the exposure a little bit with my local adjustment. That's probably too much. Maybe some midtones. And then what I like to do is we'll go into this properties dialog, which I hope you can see the properties dialog. Maybe?
Well, you know what it is? The monitor that I'm looking at is 25 feet from me, maybe 30 feet. I'm not even sure that that's a car. It's so far away from me. So I don't know if I can see the properties dialog or not.
Let me just put it into the... Let me just dock the dialog here.
So far away. See, now I can see you.
Here we go. I'll just nest it.
Thank you.
There we go. So I'm sure you can see it now. Okay. So I'm in the masking dialog here, and all I'm going to do to create this depth mask, essentially just targeting the foreground versus the background, I'm just going to go down to this little icon here, click on that, and then if I view this, you can see it's targeting that foreground section versus the background section, which is really helpful in instances like this. You could use it for portraits, any subject where you have, a prominent subject in the foreground region that you want to illuminate, you want to add a filter to, you can do that really easily. And then if you want to just mess around with the strength of that mask, you can use the level slider here.
Yeah, so Dylan, the white areas are going to get most of the effect?
Exactly, yes. Sorry, yes. The masking. So, yes, with the masking, white reveals, black conceals. So with this white area here, this is applying the local adjustment to this specific region within the foreground.
And gray will get less.
Exactly,
and
yes.
The darker gray gets like the window in the car will get less.
So I'm just going to really make it really quite intense, like you're saying, exaggerating it. I'm going to exaggerate it. And then we'll view the local adjustment. I've turn this off and on. I'll just hide that here. If we turn this off and on.
Oh, yeah, that looks good.
You can see, it's doing a really good job of just targeting that foreground region versus the background region, which is really helpful, especially like instances like this, like I said, a car or a portrait, something where you have a very prominent subject in the foreground. You can just very easily apply that depth mask. It will know where that subject is, and then you can essentially just target that region.
Oh, yeah, that worked well.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a lot easier than painting.
Exactly, yeah. Way easier than brushing. Just go in there, apply depth mask, maybe fiddle with the level slider, and then you're good to go. That's one of my, there's a bunch of new features inside of the new ON1 Effects, but that's one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is ON1 Effects now has AI tools. It has Super Select AI, which you showed earlier, but also has generative AI for generative crop. You can also remove features within your images, if you have distractions, anything. So let's just grab this photo here, and I'm going to show you generative crop. So sometimes when you're taking a portrait, as you know, you want it a little bit, you want to stretch the canvas a little bit, but it can be really tough, especially in instances where you don't want to dive in and paint this area in. So like Photoshop, ON1 Effects now has the feature to just crop the image, drag the canvas as large as you want, and it will fill in that area with the details that you need, essentially. So with this photo here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to crop, and I'm going to go to stability AI for the canvas extension here. And all I have to do is just drag this out as far as I want. Essentially making a portrait photograph into a landscape type photograph. It's going to dive in, it's going to use this AI, and it's going to fill in those areas on the left and the right, which is really exciting, especially for portraits, because like I said earlier, when it comes to portraits, sometimes you just don't get the capture that you want. But yeah. And there we go.
Oh, man. That was pretty quick. How long did that take?
Not too long, right? And then if we turn this off, so we have the original, and then after.
Wow, it did a good job.
Yeah.
And it's generating that on the fly.
Exactly, yes.
Wow.
Generating on the fly.
Yeah, that did a good job.
Yeah. And it looks nice. You know, it filled in those areas that we needed. It made it a little bit, you know, stretch the canvas.
Yeah, you know what I love those for, Dylan? Is when you made a composition mistake.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
You cut off something a little too, cut off someone's hand or their elbow or something. The elbow's kind of cut off like this. This is the picture. And you're like, oh man, you just cut off. Well, don't make it one. Yeah, there you go. Like this. Someone's like, doing this, and you're like, oh, why did you cut off the elbow? You can pop that back in, and it fixes a lot of compositional errors. So.
Totally.
Yeah,
and
very cool.
With wildlife too, like a bird, you cut off the wing or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just go in there and use generative crop.
Or aviation photography, where I'm always cutting off something by accident.
Yeah, because
they're going very fast. They're going very fast.
Whenever you're swinging the camera, generative crop can help. Yeah, and then, so just like generative crop, there's generative erase. So essentially, if you have a distracting background, like with this image, we have all of these distracting elements with the background, the sign, the van, things like that. All you have to do is just go over, we're going to grab this retouch tool section here, and we're going to grab generative erase. So this little eraser icon there. And all we have to do is just paint over the regions that we want to fill in. We paint over that. Paint over this. Looks pretty good. And then we'll just click generate. And same thing, it's going to just dive in, use a little bit of AI. I don't know how it works, but I just click generate, and it usually does a pretty good job. But there we go.
Oh, and it's pretty quick about it.
Yeah.
About 6 seconds. That wasn't bad.
So we turn this off and on, and
now if I don't like what I'm seeing, right?
Yes.
How do I regenerate?
You just essentially go back in and click retry.
Oh, very good. And you don't have to repaint the mask, do you?
I don't think you do. I think I clicked the wrong. Oh, there we go. I'm on the wrong layer. Oh, where am I at here? I clicked the wrong button. So in this case, I'm gonna have to repaint it. But you usually don't have to go in and repaint the mask. You just click retry.
Yeah, and it just retries.
Yes, and it just
on the same thing you did.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, that was for just removing distractions. If you don't like it, just click retry. But there's one other feature that I really enjoy inside of effects, and it's the match color. So, okay. So we'll just use it on this photo. But within ON1 Effects, they have two new filters. There's edit color, which essentially allows you to target specific colors within your photo. But there's another filter that allows you to match the color and tones of another photo. So if we grab match color here, there's these different preset styles within this filter that you can use. So if we click on it, there's all of these older paintings, and it's just essentially matching the color and vibe of that photo.
I was just going to say, it looks like an old Masters, and then I saw the Mona Lisa afterwards. Yeah.
And just a really good job of just matching that tone and color. But you can always import your own specific photographs. So let me see what we have in here. So I have this one. This is that famous Ansel Adams shot here. And if we modify the color, and we can play with the luminosity here, and probably add in a little contrast. But with this one little reference image, turn this up and on, it's essentially just matching that vibe and that tone of that photo.
Yeah, I like this. It's nice that you don't have to supply a reference photo. They've got really nice reference photos.
They got some good ones in here. I love the Lisa one, the Mona Lisa one.
Yeah, it's hard to license the Mona Lisa.
We did it. No, I don't know.
Hey, by the way, Dylan, Dave's asking, who wants to know which version of ON1 Effects this is.
This is 2025. This is the latest version.
Yep. All right. And if you have ON1 Photo Raw Pro Max, it's in there, right? It's in the 2025 Pro Max as well.
If you have the latest version of Photo Raw, ON1 Effects, the latest version of Effects is in the latest version of ON1 Photo Raw.
Gotcha.
So if you have Photo Raw, you're good to go. You have it all.
All right. Did you want to show us anything else? You were gonna.
No, that was essentially it.
Are you sure you didn't have one more thing that we were talking about?
Oh
before
yes,
we went
I
on
do.
the air? I
do. Well, okay. You were bringing up keyboard shortcuts, and I'm a keyboard shortcut guy, and so you brought up Super Select AI. So with Super Select AI, if you want to grab Super Select AI rather than heading over here and clicking on the icon, which you can just hover over these, tools, and it will give you the keyboard shortcut that you need. But Super Select AI, if you want to grab it, just K on the keyboard. K.
It makes perfect sense.
K.
Super Select.
Super Select.
Super Select.
Yeah.
All right.
You click it, and then you can hover over a region. So let's say we want to add in some detail. Like you said, right click. I'll just add in quite a bit of detail because we want to exaggerate it because we were on a podcast, but I'm adding in detail right away. So I hit K on the keyboard, hovered over the elk in the photo, added in some detail, and it took 10 seconds.
Hey, by the way, that reminds me, I left off my favorite filter. I stopped my tutorial one thing too early, and your thing just showed it to me. Can you look at my screen real quick? Because I'm going to do the same thing that he just did. The last thing I would have done was click on filter and then add dynamic contrast, which is a very, very magical filter in here. And you can choose different ones, normal or surreal, which is a bit surreal. The one I like is texture enhancer, and just choose that. It usually is a little punchy, so I usually have to kind of pull back the opacity just a little bit, but it actually does a very, very nice job. I'm gonna just toggle it on and off. Can you look at this building over here where I'm pointing? It's in blue, right? Look at that building as I toggle this on and off. You can see what it does for enhancing the. I mean, it's like a mega sharpener, but I don't know if it's really sharpening. I think it's more doing mid-tone contrast, but it has the look and effect of sharpening just by adding that in there. And this, I imagine this is one of your favorites. Everybody seems to love this filter. So,
oh yeah,
it's a great one. Look at that. I hope you guys are on a big enough screen to see what a difference the before and after is making there. It's rather large. All right. Well, Dylan, thank you so much. Don't go away yet, because I want you to see this photographer that I'm going to feature today from Instagram. It's a tremendous photographer, and you're going to look at it. We're going to dissect what he's doing, you and me.
Let's do it.
We're going to look at what he's doing. This guy's really, really good. Hey, before you go, Dylan, or before we get to that, Graham has a question. Can you, for the color match, can you import a color palette for that last style effect? Is there a way to import a color palette or a reference photo?
Yeah, yes. I haven't imported a color palette, but I'm sure you could.
You can do a reference photo, right?
Yes,
that has the color palette that you want into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I thought that there was. Okay. All right. Let me pull up this guy's account, because this is. I think he's terrific. All right. Here we go. The guy's name is Sergey. It's Sergey Ivanov. All right, so it's Sergey.Ivanov.photographer is his handle on Instagram. He is a Romanian photographer, and he's terrific. But what I love about him is he has a recipe that he uses. So this is a very compelling picture, right? So take a look, because what's nice about this is he shows you the before, right? And the things he does make a tremendous difference. But what I think you're going to be most surprised about is he's not doing a ton. It's like he adds a certain number of things, and that's what Dylan and I we're going to reverse engineer his stuff. So take a look at this one. I'm going to blow it up a little so you can really see it. So take a look here. All right, that's pretty big. So that's his original. All right, and now let's look at you hit the little arrow and you can see the before. Here we go. Whoa!
Oh, wow.
It's just a regular picture, right? Let's go back to the after real quick so you can see it again. And you'll see it's that picture. It's that exact frame. So what did he do differently? Here's kind of one of his signature things, which my hat's off to him. I think he's done a great job. He's got this beam of light coming in, right? And Dylan, we could do that beam of light using the reflected gradient that I showed earlier.
Yes.
I would just add to it some warmth, right? Because it's made to look like sunlight. So that reflected gradient would just light that middle area, right? Set the feathering to 100 and you get that nice light beam, all right? So that's number one. Number two, he's using that generative type of AI to add this flowing dress, right? That's not there. She's not wearing this long train on that dress. Go look at the original. There's no train there at all. So she's adding the train. Now, what else did he do? He went in and added, and what's interesting is it's transparent through his leg, but these look like what, like white rose petals?
Yeah.
Kind of floating. He probably has, I'm going to guess that he has a brush that does those. Or he's got a stock photo of those and he just pops them in, things like that. But really what he's done is, and you can tell that he's brightened the area, or maybe it's just the beam of light is going over them, right? Let's go back and look at the first, the before here. Let's go to the before. Well, he also emphasized their shadows. Because look, you can see his shadows on his legs, her shadow and the shadow for the train. Those, of course, are not there, right? There's no real casting shadows. But what's interesting about this, and one last thing, there's smoke or fog. So guys, the reason I'm telling you this is so this is episode number 3 of One-on-One. In the first episode, I did fog, and I used the depth math trick that Dylan shows you today. In the second episode, I showed you how to add like a sunshine effect and the kind of starburst, whatever. But now I think I would switch to what we showed today, which was that what's it called? The what's the word I'm looking for, Dylan? For the gradient, reflected gradient. But let's take a look at some of this guy's other stuff, and it's really, this guy's great. I think he's terrific. He shows the before and after too. So this one's like a family photo. Look, he's got cats and dogs and the whole 9 yards. There's the flare, right? There's the flare, and there's some kind of mist around, right? And now he didn't show the befores here of the dog coming out. Those probably are placed. But let's go back a little further. Look at this one, right? Street light, there's your flare. Look at the smoke, lots of smoke. Look at the train. So it's add the train, add the lens flare, add the smoke, and here's the before.
Oh, wow.
Right? So, I mean, he's a good photographer. That's the exact frame. I mean, that's it, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's. But when you think about what all he's doing, right? It's a lens flare, and you can create a flare just like that light right there, right? The light it's on, but you can put a nice flare in there with color. You can add the yellow warmth to it. He's got the fog, So you can create fog, and it's just a little bit, right? It's more of a mist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really call it a fog. All right. Did you notice anything else here, Dylan, that I'm missing?
No, I mean, I just really enjoy how he's picking and choosing where the light comes from, because he had a light, like you pointed out, a light sitting there on the left, and then he removed it somehow and then illuminated the actual light that wasn't bright.
Right. Right. Hey, can I show you one more thing? Let me go to that picture we were looking at. There was one more thing he did. Look at the size of the castle in the after picture. Right? They both have castles. And then watch. The castle's actually way back there.
Oh my gosh.
So he like selected the castle and increased its size by quite a bit. But it's good. Let's look at a couple of other ones. I want to get back to more of his, he's got some whimsical ones like those. But this is just a tad naughty. I'm thinking that she did not have that in her hair. Let's go see.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. So it is some generative stuff.
Very compelling.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very compelling. And he can obviously do some wild composites. This guy's really very, very talented. But anyway, I wanted to introduce you to him so you can start following him, because he is a font of creativity. But what I love about it is some of his most interesting pictures, they're taken to a whole nother level by doing basically three things. Adding that light source, adding the train to the bride's dress, and I don't think the bride's going to go, oh no, I don't like that. I mean, this looks like a fairy tale.
For real.
And I think that's what he's doing. He's taking regular wedding photos and turning them into like a fairy tale love story.
They look like movie posters.
Yeah, yes, that's what it is. They look like movie posters. Excellent. All right. Well, holy cow, we're actually overtime. But Dylan, I want to thank you for joining us. Where can people learn about you and your work and your training?
I mean, follow me on Instagram. My Instagram at Dylan.Kotecki, or just head over to the video library on On1, on1.com.
And it's Kotecki. Is that correct?
Kotecki.
K-I, yes.
K.
Okay.
K, Super Select AI tool.
There you go. All right. So go follow him. And he's got great training. He showed us some great stuff today. And thank you very much for joining us, Dylan. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. That was fun. All right. Hey, guys, good. All right. Well, that's it for this month, guys. Thank you for dropping in. Thanks to everybody for watching live. And for those of you who are watching it in replay, thank you for checking it out. And we will see you. We show up once a month on this particular Tuesday, which is what, the fourth Tuesday of the month. And we'll be showing more tips and more tricks and more stuff. And if you haven't upgraded to the latest Photo Raw 2025 or Effects 2025, I think you saw why. Now's the time. All right, everybody, take care. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.